Okay, today we're doing lesson 4.10, module 4, lesson 10. And your learning goal today is by the end of math, you need to be able to solve and compare expressions with parentheses. What does expressions mean? Alina?
It's kind of like an equation, but it doesn't have equal signs.
Yeah, math equations are called expressions. Okay, so when you see the word expressions, you can think about equations. So really your learning goal is solve and compare equations that have parentheses in them. Okay, so you should have written that down in your notebook. Go ahead and point to where you wrote that in your notebook. Okay, so now that we've drawn this tape diagram into our notebooks, the directions say to write an expression to match the tape diagram, then evaluate. Well, there's some very mathematical words there. The word expression means what? Equation or number sentence. And then evaluate means to solve. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have a tape diagram, and the entire tape diagram is what?
4 units.
Huh? It's 4 units, okay. But how big are those 4 units? 9 plus 11. When we have the word plus, what is that? What's another word that means plus? Ella? Add, or another word is the sum, right? So we're finding the sum of 9 and 11. And how can we show that? Can we write it like this, 9 plus 11?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But are we actually trying to find the entire sum of 9 plus 11? We're trying to find what fraction of it. Well, 9 plus 11 has been divided into how many equal sections? 4. So that means that our denominator is what? 4. And how many of those fourths are we trying to find? 3. So are we trying to find 3/4 of the sum of 9 and 11? So how can I write that as a math equation? Aditi? No, not 3/4 of 20. How can I write it as a math expression? Aditya?
3/4 times 20.
Very close. 3/4 times, but instead of 20, is it given to us as 20? No. So it's 3/4 times, in parentheses, 9 plus 11. 20 would be wrong because it's not given to us as 20. Now, why are these parentheses very important? Why are those parentheses very important? Let me put it another way. If I wrote it like this, 3/4 times 9 plus 11, would that be the same thing?
No.
Because then it would be 3/4 of what? 9. But really it needs to be 3/4 of the sum of 9 and 11. Do you understand? Okay, so make sure you write this down. And in fact, this is a very easy hole to fall into. So we might want to write that hole and cross it out. Okay, so this problem is also asking us to write an expression or a math sentence and also evaluate it, so to solve it. Okay, so when we see the product, we know, are we talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Everyone? Okay, and what 2 numbers are we multiplying? 4 times 2, and all of that, in parentheses, divided by 3. So this would be your math expression. Is 4 times 2 the same thing as 8?
Yeah.
But if I write 8 divided by 3, is that what the words are telling me? No. Now, if I don't have those parentheses, in this case, would it be okay? It actually would. But let's put the parentheses because it's telling us the product of 4 and 2. So there we've done half of it. We've written an expression, but have we evaluated it yet? No. So let's do that. What is 4 times 2? 8 divided by 3. How can I write 8 divided by 3? How can I solve that? I have a couple options. I could either use the standard algorithm, or I could write it as an improper fraction. Let's practice writing it as an improper fraction. 8 over 3 is the same, 8 divided by 3 is the same as what fraction, everyone? 8. Okay, and then can we simplify it?
Yes.
How many wholes are in 8/3? 2. I can see on Lekshan's fingers. Very good. And then how many thirds do I have left? 2/3. So the answer is 2 and 2/3. But this is also part of the answer because it's asking us to write and evaluate the expression. Okay, so we're trying to figure out if these expressions are equivalent. Okay, so the first one is 2 divided by 3 times 4. Let's write that as a in a different form. What do I have to do first? 2 divided by 3 or 3 times 4 first? Yeah, because it comes first. So another way to think about that is like that. Okay, that's the same as this, right? So are these two equivalent already?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that those are equivalent. 2 divided by 3, is that the same thing as that? Times 4. Is that the same? So is this the same as 2 times 4 over 3? Okay. So is this the same thing? Oh, right here we have this is the same as this. So are those equivalent? Okay, so far 3 of them are equivalent. Now, it says, let's try this one. 4/3 doubled. 4/3 doubled. Is that the same thing?
Yes.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Is this going to be the same thing as 4 times 2 over 3? Is that the same thing as this? Huh, so is this 4/3 doubled? Is that the equivalent? Okay, nice. Are we actually solving any equations yet? No. So our job is to figure out if these are equivalent without even solving them. Okay, let's move on to C. 2 divided by the sum of 3 times 4. So that would be 2 in the numerator, and what would be in the denominator? Huh? 3 times 4. Is this equivalent? Is this the same thing as this? It has all the same numbers, but what's different? Jinbok?
The denominator and the numerator are switched around.
Right. Do we see how the 3, before the 4 was up in the numerator, and now it's in the denominator. So is this equivalent? No. Okay. So far we know C is not equivalent. What about E? 4 copies of the sum of 1/3 and 1/3. So the sum of 1/3 and 1/3, 4 copies. Is that the same thing? Yeah, so they're all equivalent except for C. So on your problem set and your homework, you are going to have problems like this where you'll need to tell me which ones are equivalent and which ones are not equivalent without even solving them. So if we're not solving them, how are we able to tell if it's equivalent or not? Tara?
You can write down the number sentence, and if it's like, if it relates to the other problems, you can tell that.
Yeah, you can tell if it's just a different form of the same problem, huh? Very good. Okay, so make sure you have this written down in your notebook, that when we're using word form to talk about addition, we talk about sum. When we use word form to talk about subtraction, we talk about difference. Multiplication is product, and division is quotient.